What's up, guys? Spiritual Lemonade back with another video. This is everything that I listened to album and EP wise from everything that dropped on May 30th. We're just going to run through the list. I got a lot to sort through. I just was able to finally rate them on Music Board. It takes a couple days sometimes for everything to load on Music Board. So last night, I think, was the first time I was able to fully go through everything I listened to and rate it. We're gonna start off with Iconic by Connor Price and Nick D. This was their collab album, I guess. It was only 8 tracks, so it's kind of hard. I wanted to put this in a album of the year contender list, but I kind of want to put it in the EP list just because of how short it is. It was 8 tracks long, and it was maybe like 15 minutes total. But this was easily one of the better albums that I listened to this week. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Super solid project. Probably my favorite collab project that they've ever done. I know they've done a few other shorter projects as well, similar to this. And this was the first one where every single one I heard was just it was incredible. So I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed that project. My favorite song is Caveman for sure. The little I can part from Connor Price goes absolutely crazy. Next up, we got a new band, to me at least. I'm pretty sure they're also new. This was their first release on Spotify, called Beloved, and they are a worship indie kind of vibe, like folk music a little bit as well, and they're from Nashville. It's a husband and wife, I believe, and this was just a short EP. It was 5 tracks long. It was a super solid listen, though. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, which is crazy for a first kind of drop from a new artist. But it's just really well produced, really well put together. I think it's definitely worth listening to if you're looking for some new music with that kind of vibe. So I gave that 3.5. Next up, we're going to go to this one, Ben Rector. He's not a Christian artist, but he definitely, especially in this album, I know in the past albums from him as well, he's kind of talked about his faith a little bit, but he's one of those artists where every once in a while he'll drop a song and it just has swear words, has nothing to do with faith. So he's not really a Christian artist, but he is a Christian, I do believe. So this was his new one called The Richest Man in the World. It was an album, and about halfway into it, I was like, man, this isn't really hitting like some of his other albums. But then there were a few songs on here. Stuck, Feel, let me see. What was the other one I really liked? Might have been Praying For Me with Matt Kearney. I can't remember. But those 3 specifically kind of picked up the rating for the album. I was sitting at a cool 2.5 out of 5, kind of halfway through this album. And then the last half kind of brought it up to a 3 out of 5. But yeah, it's a super solid listen. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's just it wasn't anything really out of the box for him, style and music wise. It was pretty, I'd say pretty similar to actually Matt Kearney dropped an album, I think, this year. Yeah, this album called Still Drowning in Nostalgia, and this is the same. It's a very easy listen, a very solid project. It just wasn't anything super crazy, something different. So I just gave it a 3 out of 5, similar to this one. Just solid 3 out of 5 stars. Next one is Wasteland. This is one of the other albums that were kind of higher on my list. Wasteland by Wolves at the Gate. Wolves at the Gate I have never heard of before, but I was doing a little bit of a deep dive on them since this album came up, and apparently they are a Christian metalcore band, somewhat in that realm of genres, and normally that is not my cup of tea, at least style-wise for music. Metal is probably, it's metal at the very bottom, then country. But this one, actually, I really enjoyed. There was a lot of cool stuff going on throughout this that kind of, if I were to throw this into, just on for whatever reason I was in the mood for it or something, for this sound, I would just put this album on. Like a lot of other albums I've heard that are similar, just didn't do it for me. There was a lot of stuff going on. There was like some interludes throughout this project, some really cool like auto-tuned like vocals as well in some of the songs if I remember correctly. Death Clock was my absolute favorite on this one. If you don't listen to the whole album, at least go listen to Death Clock. And Unrest as well. That's a banger. Parasite, Super Fire. If you're looking for just a solid, like, I guess metalcore is what I found on, I guess Wikipedia or whatever. And it's all Christian as well. I do vaguely remember like maybe one cuss word in it, but for the most part, like the actual themes in the album as well are pretty Christian or faith based. So I gave that a 4 out of 5. That was one of the better albums I listened to this week. Next up we have, we're gonna have to go to the next page, I think. Yep. All right, next up we got Guard My Heart. This is the new EP from Caleb Gordon. I'm pretty sure this is going to eventually evolve into an album. Like the other 4 songs on this, Seat at the Table, Upside Down, No Remorse, these were all dropped as singles, and every time a new single drops, it just gets added in. So this EP is called Guard My Heart. And again, it was a super solid EP from Caleb Gordon. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't hear anything super crazy. The only slight difference from this compared to other stuff he's dropped in the past is the beats were a little bit different, as well as some of the mixing. Like I know Caleb Gordon when I listen to him because of the way his vocals are mixed. They're very specific. It's very similar to... It's like a mix of Juice WRLD and someone else, like more fuzzy vocals, but very smooth as well. And this one, the vocals felt just a little bit more dialed in and stuff, which isn't a bad thing. It was just like a little bit of a different like sound to me from him, like mix wise and stuff. But I really liked it. I'm interested to see what this evolves into, whether it's an album or just a shorter project. But regardless, I know he is doing an album soon, I think this year, and he canceled his tour, and hopefully he'll bring the tour back again once the album's out. But yeah, that's what I have to say about Caleb Gordon's new album. Go to Jesus by Keon Boone is the next album. Yeah, it's an album. It was 12 tracks long. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. This was probably one of my favorite albums that I've heard from Keon. I actually don't even remember if he has another album out. I'm pretty sure he does. I know he drops a lot of EPs as well. He's one of those artists that is literally dropping almost every week. But this was a really good batch of songs. I really enjoyed them. I would put pretty much any of them in a playlist. And I know there was a lot of controversy with him a couple weeks ago with him stealing a beat by... I think it was Ian and someone else, to like secular artists. And with that whole thing, I don't really want to go into it too much, but I also kind of got into a little beef with Bryson Gray as well, on a similar topic. I don't personally care, like, if you're just posting on Instagram or YouTube, like, just as a video or something, just to kind of promote what you can do as an artist. But if you're dropping it, like, on all platforms, claiming to produce even if you reproduce it, it's the same beat. I don't know how I feel about it. It's not like it really, like, it's not like I was upset about it or anything. It's not like I don't want to listen to Keon Boone anymore because of that. That's just my 2 cents on it. I know no one asked, but that's just what I have to say about that whole thing. I don't think it should have been as big of a deal as it was. Next up, we got 48 by Caden Jordan and Arsenal. This was their new collab album. And let me just say, banger after banger. This is another super solid album that I would put any of these songs into a playlist. I'm not going to lie, right now, I'm not very into playlisting. I'm more into just listening to albums. Like, I've just Like if I'm at work, I'm not sitting down and listening to a playlist. I'm listening to albums front to back. That's just kind of how I've been preferring listening to music right now. That may change in the future. So it's kind of a lot on my mind to get, listen to an album, then put songs into specific playlists, and then do that again for every album. So I just go back to albums and listen through. And I've listened to this a couple times through, and I really enjoyed it. They had bats on one of the songs. That was the only. Well, no. There was one other feature, Kevmer, and I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it or not. I know he's been on something else that I checked out recently, and I still have no idea how to pronounce his name. But I really, really enjoyed Bats' verse. The way that this album, kind of like the vibe of it, is very different stylistically than anything Bats I feel like would touch. But the way Bats worked on that song was really fire. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars for that. Definitely a solid listen. Highly recommend going to check that out. Next up, it's a pretty short EP. It's only 3 songs. It's basically just 3 singles, but it's called New Speakers EP by De La Cruz. I'm assuming he just got new studio speakers, and these are the 3 songs he recorded on it. But I could probably live without the 2 songs, Kimbo and Intent. I mean, it's not like I could live without them. It's just like they didn't do anything super crazy compared to some of his other songs. Drop Too Much is the song that saved this whole EP, in my opinion. Not like the other songs, again, were bad. It's just, it really wasn't anything different from him. But Drop Too Much had just such a crazy flow, really cool lyrics. Like, I really enjoyed that song. If there was a song I was going to go back to on this project, it's definitely Drop Too Much. I need more of that vibe from De La Cruz for real. He also just dropped an album, technically an album, but it was really short. It was basically an EP. I forget what it was called though. I'm blanking on the name. It was not First Impressions, something like that. But it was a really good album. I reviewed that, or I reacted to it if you want to go watch it. But I did give this a 3.5 out of 5. And by the way, like when I'm saying 3.5 for this, like the way I look at it, it's like EPs, super short EPs like this, and albums, and they're all different. Like I'm not saying 3.5 for this is the same as like if I were to give, what was another album I gave a 3.5 out of 5? I don't know. Like one of my 5 out of 5 albums is Preacher's Daughter by Ethel Cain. And if I gave an EP a 5 out of 5, it's kind of different in my eyes. I don't know how to describe it. But just keep that in mind. It's not like I'm saying like an album is just as good as an EP. They're kind of different scores in my opinion. But the next album we're going to check out or talk about is called Learning to Trust by 10th Avenue North. I'm not going to lie. I had known about this album dropping for several weeks now. I pre-saved it on Spotify. And 10th Avenue North, they definitely had some bangers back when I was like a little kid and only listened to Way FM, which is a Christian radio station from, I mean, it's all over the country, but that's what I listened to. And 10th Avenue North, I only recognized because of that. I have never really gone and listened to an album by them. And if I'm being completely honest, I was going to go into this thinking I totally expected it to just be totally the classic CCM that I always listen to from these artists. But I was very, very wrong on this album. This was my favorite album that dropped this week that I listened to. I can't believe how good it is. Like, it was really good. It had Leanna Crawford on it. Leanna Crawford dropped an album, a deluxe version of her album this year at the very beginning of 2025, and it was incredible. So I was happy to see her as a feature on this. Rend Collective, also a throwback band as well. If I had to pick some favorites, Ministers, that is my all-time favorite song on this album. Suddenly, super fire. All the rest of them are also really good, but those are the ones that stood out to me. Great God of Compassion, obviously, because I just talked about that. But the production was very different. Like the lyrics, the way the lyrics were written, it didn't seem like very... A lot of these kind of bands tend to have a lot of songs that kind of just feel rushed or not a lot of thought going into the lyrics, just whatever sounds good and sounds the most Christian. And this album had a lot of emotion, like with the lyrics, the way that the lyrics were sung, and even the production behind it was not a very stereotypical CCM kind of sound. So I really, really enjoyed this album. I highly recommend you go listen to it. This is going to be... I already did add it to my top 50... my list of top 50 albums for Album of the Year contender list on Music Board. If you want to go check it out, you can. Next album is Signature by Koa. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I've never heard of him before, but I gave it a listen. I gave it a shot. It was alright for the most part. There was a lot of familiar features on here that I've heard of before. My only issue with this is the production quality was all over the place, as well as the vocal mix quality. The mix of vocal quality as well was just very hit or miss on this album. The song that I wanted to talk about specifically, if you want to go listen to it for reference, I Grew Up. I know it says on here that it's an uncut version. I just don't understand why it was ever released. Just because of Koa's part. Sadvato went crazy on it. For some reason, it says uncut, but on Koa's verse and on the hook, he's like singing on this one, and it feels very dry. The notes, it needs some auto-tune on it, if I'm being honest, and it just really... it is definitely uncut. Like, if you're going into it thinking it'll still sound like a somewhat okay song, it definitely needs some auto-tune on there. And Sadvato, for some reason, had auto-tune on his vocals, even though it was on an uncut version. So Sadvato carried that song, in my opinion. But there were definitely some songs on here that did hit. I think Laylo was one of them. Kickbox as well. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Kickbox was my favorite song on this album, featuring K for Christ, which I've never heard of either. But both of them slid on that song. On these albums where I'm giving like a 2 out of 5 or 2.5 or 1.5 out of 5, every once in a while you still strike some gold in these albums. Like, every once in a while there's a hidden gem, and I think Kickbox on this one was that hidden gem for sure. Next up, we got Let the Kingdom Invade by Nehemiah. And again, I've never heard of him before. He's a pretty underground artist. There was some familiar features on here, like Venice, KJ the Kid, Garco. Even Vice looks a little bit familiar, Brocky. So I gave it a listen, and I gave it a shot. The intro track called Invade was very, very cool. My attention was there from the beginning. It was very... I don't know how to describe it. It was like almost like an AI voice talking about the kingdom invading. I don't know. It was very cinematic and very like captivating. And then it goes into the next song, and the production just kind of goes a little bit downward from there. So I gave this a 2.5 out of 5, but I do fully expect, Nehemiah to continue growing as an artist and putting out more stuff. So all of these artists that I do give lower scores on as well, it's not like I'm never going to listen to them again. I'm here to watch them and listen to them grow. So yeah, Gadgets by Venice, or featuring Venice, was pretty good. That was probably the hidden gem on this one. From Me to You is the next album by Sosi. I think is how you pronounce it. Saucy, maybe. Like with the other few artists, I've never heard of him before, and I decided to give him a shot. And this one, out of all of the underground artists that I listened to this week, this is the one that I enjoyed the most. Mainly because it was very consistent compared to the other ones, mix-wise, production-wise. Also had some familiar features, Judo Sammy and Zakar. Zakar I haven't heard from in a while, but I have done a few reactions to his music, as well as Judo Sammy. But this is a very just pretty normal underground vibe. If you're looking for some underground Christian rap, I highly recommend this album. Gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, we got Super Faith by iRock with Yahweh. I think I've reviewed on one of these style videos before one other thing from him. I think it was an album, actually, earlier this year. And I can't remember what I gave that, so I'd have to go back and look to see what the difference is in comparison to this album. But I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was a solid listen. I feel like for iRock with Yahweh, it's just very similar lyrics in a lot of the songs. And again, for him, he's more ministry focused in his music, so it's not like a lot of bars or double entendres. It's just vibes and message heavy. So I gave it a 3 out of 5, and I do hope at some point he in some way could add some more substance to the music, whether it's in production or a little bit different lyrics or like lyric style. Like maybe every once in a while sprinkling a double entendre or something. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that album. Next up, we got Reflections in the Flame by Jam and Fire. This was a short project of 5 tracks. It's an EP. I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars, but I honestly could have and should have probably given it a 1.5 out of 5. On a lot of these songs, it's just very unmixed isn't even the word. Like, the mix could use some work, but a lot of the singing even is just not really there. It's kind of offbeat in some parts, and I think a lot of these songs just need to be worked on a lot more. If he's making music in the future, I would just say maybe work more on writing, flow patterns, and also just production in general. So that's what I have to say about that. Next up, Simplify EP. Again, it's just a short 3-song EP by Nate Moore. I gave this a solid 3 out of 5 stars. Nate Moore, I don't think I've heard anything from him in the past. This is my first time listening to him, but it's a pretty solid project. It's similar to Brandon Lake, I'd say, on Brandon Lake's acoustic versions of his songs. It's kind of like worship music, but also not. It's like not a CCM radio kind of song, but it's got like a singer-songwriter vibe to it. I don't really know how to box him. Like, I'm not going to box him in, but I don't know how to describe his music. It's like, it's a mix of a lot of different vibes, like singer-songwriter, a little bit of folk, a little bit of worship. So it's pretty cool. I definitely would recommend giving it a listen. We got, let's see, No Fear by John Reddick. This was a longer album, if I remember correctly. Does it say how long it was? I guess 46 minutes. So I guess it wasn't as long as I was thinking. It felt long, I think, because there's like 3 versions of the same song, the title track, No Fear. And that's why I gave it, one of the reasons I gave it a 3 out of 5 instead of anything higher. There's no need to have 3 different versions. Even if you have like a live version, a version with the feature and the version without, like, just drop the version with the feature and then drop the live version separately, in my opinion. But the rest was pretty solid. It just also wasn't anything super new to me, so it just didn't really stand out sonically. So I just gave it a 3 out of 5. Next up, we got a new Newsboys album, Worldwide Revival Deluxe. This one had some like familiar sounding songs, so I don't know how old some of these songs are. I gave it a solid 3.5 out of 5. I would listen to this again. There were definitely some bangers on this one. Death Was Arrested. That's one of the ones I have heard before, and I was like, why is this on this album in 2025? Isn't this from like years and years and years ago? How Many Times, Oh How You Love Me. That was a fire song. I don't know if that's new or old, but I really enjoyed that one. That was the title track. So yeah, new Newsboys went pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Nothing Is Over by Lakewood Music. I gave this a 3 out of 5. This was a worship EP. Considering it was 5 songs and only 25 minutes, I consider that a win. Nothing was really over 5 minutes other than one song. And I believe 4 to 5 minutes is perfect length for a worship song. There's no need to have like 12-minute worship songs. But Mitch Wong had the best song on this one. As usual, he goes crazy. Anything he touches, it always goes crazy. Carry It Well was a song on here that I really liked. Next up, we got Worship from the Studio by Stephen McWhirter. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I want to say they are original songs, but I gave this a 2.5. I probably could have given it a 3 out of 5 as well. There's nothing really musically wrong. For me, it's just not my style, my vibe for this kind of music for worship. He has a very good voice. He has a very raspy and gritty voice, and that's just not like when I'm listening to worship music. That's not necessarily the style of voice or singing that I'd typically throw on. If I'm going to listen to worship music, for a guy, it would be in the style of Mitch Wong. For a female artist, it would be in the style of Abby Gamboa. Like for just casual listening. Like if he was singing on a stage like this, it would be awesome. But I just wouldn't throw something like this in a worship playlist personally. So that's my rating on that. Next up, we got Worthy of a Hallelujah Deluxe. This is the album that it took forever to get through. This was 1 hour and 52 minutes, almost 2 hours long, by Jesus Culture. There is absolutely no need for an album to be this long, especially for these reasons. If you look at the album, half of it is live versions of the songs, and the other half is acoustic versions. Don't get me started. But the last half were the acoustic versions of all the songs, and those were hands down 100% better than the live versions because they didn't go on for 12 minutes, for 6 minutes, for 7 minutes. The acoustic versions, some of them were 6 minutes, but it was a lot more listenable in my opinion. It didn't go on and on and on forever and ever. Amen. But yeah, that's just my opinion on this album. I really enjoyed the acoustic versions. I feel like it should have been either only the acoustic or only the live versions. Putting it as an album together is just... it's almost like torture. No, I'm kidding. It's not that bad. I just don't like when albums, especially worship albums, are that long just because the only reason they're that long is because it's just the hook repeating over and over and over and over again. And it's cool if you want to do that live when you're actually doing worship at a church, but in a playlist, I don't understand why there needs to be like a 12-minute long song for that. Whew, that's my rant for the day. You'll probably hear me do that rant 1,000 more times on this channel. Next up, we got a new beat tape from Ty Brazzle called Sunday Morning. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. All of these beats, it's kind of weird because I've never really reviewed nor reacted to anything like this before. This was purely instrumentation, all instrumentals, and I guess technically beats. But they were all fire. Like, I don't know what he's planning on doing with these beat tapes, whether he's just dropping them and that's it, or if he's looking for people to hop on them, or if he's gonna write something to them and release them as well in the future, or if they're just out there for the vibes and to get put into different playlists and stuff. You know, use it as a nice ambient soundtrack in like a Instagram reel or a TikTok video. Yeah, it was super solid. I really liked what I was hearing on that. And I'm pretty sure he's got some more beat tapes. Before we get to the last one, which is the new Jon Bellion album, let's talk about this. This is 3 Does Anyone Know You're Going This Way by 350. This is the only album this week that I revisited that I've already heard before. This dropped last year. I did a reaction if you want to go watch it. The reaction's on my channel. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. Partially because it is an album, it's listed as an album, but it's really short. It's only 24 minutes long, and this is only one piece to a bigger puzzle. He said he's doing an album similar to, I think, SZA, where this album is called 3, the next one will be called 5, the next one will be 0, and it'll be his name 350. And it'll be like I think it's gonna all connect together. I could be wrong, but I'm waiting to go back and re-review this as well until all 3 projects are out. But yeah, it's a super solid listen. There's really nothing to complain about other than it's a little short for an album. So that's a 3.5 out of 5. The last one I want to talk about today is the new Jon Bellion, The Father Figure album. I got this on vinyl, so that should be coming soon. I'm excited for that. I will say, I was also supposed to do an album reaction to this. I did all the singles leading up to it, and in all those videos I was saying I'm going to do a reaction, a whole album reaction, and I just didn't. It was going to take a lot of time to record and edit and then upload the night of, and now it's kind of, I've got other stuff coming up, so I can't get to it, but also it's going to get copyrighted, so I won't even, there's not even really a whole point in doing it, not because I can't make money, but the copyrighted videos don't normally do as well anyway, so I don't want to spend all that time for, no payoff, really. But also, my thoughts after listening to it for the first time is it's really good. There's no denying the talent from Jon Bellion, his songwriting, his producing, really everything, the way he mixes his vocals, it's all super solid. But on some of these songs, it just felt, it just wasn't hitting for me the same way as other albums from him in the past have. And I know this is his album of stepping away from the stuff he was making with the labels. And it's kind of supposed to be different, which I was expecting as well. But a lot of these songs just can't be put into a playlist for me, personally, because the vibes are just a little too out there. On songs let's see, I can't remember, it was either Don't Shoot or My Boy, where it was just random audio clips for a minute long or something in the middle of the song, and then it picks up at the end. It's I can't add that in a playlist because it's a nice vibe and then just random talking and then the song again. So there was some of that going on, and just the fact that some of the songs just didn't connect to me like some of his other songs from other albums in the past. So it's still a solid album. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 for this one. That was the last album I wanted to talk about today. I know next week we got a lot of crazy music coming out. I'm super excited to check it out and talk about it. Next Thursday, we'll be back for everything that drops on June 6th. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go be fruitful. Let me know what you guys thought about all these opinions and ratings in the comment section. And let me know if I missed any albums. I apologize if I did. I wasn't trying to leave anyone out. This is just everyone that was on my radar. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Go be fruitful. Let's go.